Welcome to Measurably Better Learning, the podcast built for learning and development professionals. Whether you're an instructional designer, L&D professional, or corporate leader, get ready for insights and ideas that will transform your approach to learning, training, and development. So let's dive in.
Welcome to this episode of the Measurably Better podcast. I'm Miriam Taylor, and today, once again, I'm here with Dr. Jerry Zandstra, my colleague and friend. We are continuing our series, Learning Leader As, and today it's, I think, a really interesting topic. We're talking about learning leader as a team guide, which for our listeners could probably mean a million things. But what we're really thinking is, how do you approach building a high-performing learning team? So let's just jump right in, Jerry. Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a little fluffy. If you've been on a team with a great leader, you know it. If you've been on a team with a really bad leader, you know it. Sometimes it's hard to quantify what that means exactly. I've been on teams with really nice people who are leading and have no vision.
Yeah.
Not a great experience. It is at first.
You feel welcome until
you do. Everybody's kind, you're decent and wonderful. I mean, we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything.
Things getting done, yeah.
And so, and you know, some people are a little more aggressive that way. That would be me. I like to know where we're going and that we're going to accomplish something, and it's worth time to do it. There's the other side of that where it's all driven. It's all numbers. There's no humanity in this at all. And there are organizations that work that way, and some of them are highly successful for a period of time. In time, they have a hard time attracting and retaining because you burn people up much like a fireplace. You know, you're just throwing logs, and you're burning through people, and you're trying to keep a fire going.
When people are taking Adderall to work 80-hour weeks, there's a problem. Yeah.
And it, you know, does Wall Street love it? Yeah, maybe. Is that what you want? Choose well.
I hope not. Right.
I mean, choose well. I mean, you have the right to choose that.
Yep.
But this ties in somewhat to the conversation, the podcast we did on servant leadership. But the finding the right balance between drive and vision and accomplishment and finding dignity in the human person.
Yeah.
That's hard to do. And a good team leader does that. A good team leader, I think, is looking to create positions that are needed and then filling them with the right people. And sometimes we use the expression, you know, right people on the bus or right seats on the bus or whatever. That can be fine, but sometimes you can have a really high-performing a person that is highly destructive.
Right. The bus is blown up.
Yeah. It's set on fire, you know, and then flipped over and fell into a swamp. But for a while there, right,
you're moving fast.
You were going really, really fast. That finding that balance of competency and decency, and the team that you're building, and sometimes you have really decent people. And their competency isn't there. And make sure you try. But I mean, as a team leader, you're constantly managing a system. And inside that system are tasks you need to accomplish.
Absolutely.
In a timeline, on a budget, you got to get that done. But there's also, you know, to do those things, you have to have people who are motivated. And people who are beat up all the time, or flopped in and out all the time. I've led a number of teams. I've been on a number of teams where other people have led. If those that find that balance, that compelling vision, plus that deep humanity and love for others, wow, that's a good place to work. That's a place I'm going to give everything I got.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, there's so much to be unpacked. I think it does relate a lot back to our servant leadership conversation we had in the past. But one of the things that you did address was, you said too, sometimes you might have really good people, but the competency isn't there. And you have to make that decision at that point. like skill competency wise, do I need to find somewhere else for them, or can I help them upskill them?
Mhm.
And I would say too, with a person that's a real high performer, but maybe they lack the skills to be on the bus in terms of emotional intelligence and that kind of thing. So you kind of have two areas here. But
Yeah.
in general, how do you foster that continuous learning within your team then as the leader of the team?
Well, you're looking for opportunities for them,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Okay.
If you give them an opportunity to move up or learn another skill or do something that, or even give them a little sandbox to play in for a little while, go see. Just go. Let's not pour any concrete on this sand yet. Just go play in it for a while and come back to me and tell me if it's something that works. And I think that kind of freedom to experiment, you can't ever experiment at the cost of another person.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't ever experiment if it threatens the overall mission of the organization or your team. But give them the sandbox can't be a mile by a mile, but give them a place to learn and grow and develop. And I've done that, and some people have come back and go, I hate that.
Right.
I don't want you.
Yeah.
Great, we learned something.
Yeah.
We learned
absolutely.
something. But what I also probably learned is I didn't like that, but I think I might like this. Great, So be patient, but also with destructive people. And again, this is a function of age. With destructive people, at the end of the day, that's not going to work. Don't tolerate it because you're not doing any favors for anybody else. And the long-term viability and strength of your group it's not sustainable.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just, as you were talking there, it reminded me of way back in the day when we were working together, working with someone that at times frustrated me because I felt like they were slow getting their work done, and they were always coming to me with, you know what, I just saw this, or I just saw that, or I've been thinking about this. I'm like, that's great, but you're 2 days behind.
Right.
And but a good person, and I started to think about it some more. I'm like, boy, they really do know how to research. And so, like you said, we got to a point as a company where we could afford to do some sandbox time, and I started to say, hey, you know what, you said these 3 things. We don't need them now, but in the future, I think we're going to need to know more about this.
Yeah.
Can you give me an hour a week digging into?
And you're in charge.
Yeah. And suddenly this work got done, but so did their research. And I can't tell you how many times I was like, hey, can you go talk to him? He knows everything about that. And it was like, it just, everything smoothed out.
Yeah.
And it was amazing just because I kind of reframed how I was thinking about that person.
Yeah.
So, well, we're already, we need to head into our next segment. So we'll take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about challenges and conflicts within the team, because they're going to be there. We've already addressed it a little bit.
Yep.
Imagine a world where every training session, every learning module, and every translated document is aligned with your company's unique goals and global ambitions. Welcome to Ingenuity, where we don't just talk about elevating your corporate learning, we make it happen. At Ingenuity, we understand the heart of your business is its people. That's why we specialize in creating custom learning solutions and translation services that are not just effective, but are designed specifically for your business's global needs. Let us show you how learning cannot be just better, but measurably better, with solutions tailored just for you. Learn more in the description below.
All right. Well, welcome back. As we wrapped up, we were talking about ways that learning leaders can really give opportunity to team members, help them grow, or find out what's working, what's not working. But that sort of begs the question, right? There has obviously been some sort of conflict or challenge. So how does a learning leader deal with that conflict or challenge on a team?
Yeah. First of all, recognize it's always there.
Yeah.
You might have just a glimmer, like 2-hour period at some week, a year and a half ago, where you looked around and went, paradise. Right? But that's not reality.
Yeah.
That's not reality. And when I used to, well, you were part of it too, but I used to teach in economics and global business in an MBA program. And the students would say, well, I really want to grow into management. Go, really? You sure?
Because you're just going to solve problems all day long.
All you're going to do means you now are the garbage can where everybody dumps their problems, and it's your job. Are you sure? Because that's going to be most of your job. Recognizing that from the start is and seeing those things when they're seedlings rather than when they're mighty oaks. It's a little bit of seeing around corners, but
Yeah.
and part of it is experience. You've been around, you're in a meeting and you go, you just said that to her.
Yeah. She's not going to be happy.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And then a lot of other people left the meeting and went, I didn't.
Right.
My wife,
Right.
Mary, has the incredible ability to go, yeah, there's more going on there. Sometimes I miss that stuff. So there's going to naturally be conflicts and learning to cut them off, see them early and address them early, quickly. But most conflicts quickly get resolved between people that trust one another.
Yeah. That's the key.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that you trust me and I trust you. And we've worked together a long time, and when there have been conflicts, we were able to work them out. And the trust was more important than the issue.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yep,
and
absolutely.
so if you're seeing conflict, the conflicts between two people or between a team and another person, it's not the individual conflicts that matter. There's a lack of trust, respect, love for one another. And no matter what it is, it's going to land in conflict. So, the first place you look is, do you have trust? And if you don't, you're going to live in conflict. So, how do you, and then you're looking at your team. Who is fostering trust and who's starting the dumpster on fire every week?
Right. I think you say people of ill will and people who genuinely aren't interested in.
Right.
Yeah.
The person who sets the dumpster on fire every week eventually is going to burn down the whole building. And those are things that need to get addressed. And then you have that conversation. You have a choice.
Yeah.
And to do that to confront in a respectful way is when I was younger, I didn't know how to do that. I confronted in an angry way because I didn't kill it when it was a seedling. I let it grow to a giant oak tree, and then I go out and get my chainsaw. Right? It would have been a lot easier if I would have. And the thing is, I probably saw it coming.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to. That's hard. Who wants to talk about these things, right? I hope that'll
work out.
And it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't. It takes to truly build a team. You have to be constantly looking for those things and being willing to have hard conversations. And most of us are really bad. You're not going to be a great team leader if you don't develop some calluses and you don't develop the ability to confront a person in a respectful way and then give them a path.
That's probably most important. It's not just airing of grievances, right?
I've done that.
Yeah.
You just want to yell at you for a while. So if you just sit there for a while, and it doesn't do any good.
Right. How are we going to fix the problem moving forward?
Give them a path.
Yeah.
And then honestly, when they have a path, they have a choice.
Yes. Then the ball's in their court too.
Yep.
Yeah.
You could choose this path, or you can choose another path. But most of the people that I've had to let go in different jobs or whatever, they kind of decided that.
They caught on. Yeah.
Yeah. Or not. But if you do it well, and I certainly can't say I've always done that well, but you're also protecting your team, because at the end of the day, as a team lead, as this kind of person that's trying to, create this team, you're going to have conflict. Yes, you need to address it early, address it directly, address it compassionately, address it respectfully. But if you don't, and it's hard because now we're all remote.
Right.
This gets tougher.
It does.
In remote situations, because when we're all together and I'm seeing you every day and you're seeing me every day and we're having coffee together or tea in the afternoon or whatever, we can have a conversation. It's like you have to have a reason to have a conversation now. You have to set a time and you have to send a link. That's harder.
Yeah.
That's harder to do.
One of the biggest shifts, I think, in my thinking, because again, I didn't want to have those hard conversations, was to think this is actually for the good of the rest of my team that I'm protecting. And then also, honestly, systematizing things a little bit. When you're having weekly one-on-ones and, you're working, you have that path forward and you're working with that person, they shouldn't be surprised.
Right.
And so if you get, someone I work with a lot on leadership training, he has like 3 strikes and you're out. And that doesn't mean like individual incidences, but he calls it coach fire. And the point is basically like, I'm going to coach you. And then if that's not working, I'm going to coach you again. And I don't mean, again, individual instances. These are more larger issues. But by the 3rd time, either you're going to see it or I'm going to, like we're pulling a plug at that point for the good of the team.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have been a surprise to that person because we have been addressing it all along.
And you need to be really reflective
Absolutely.
on yourself. Am I right? Am I thinking about this? Do I have some personal bias? It should be hard to end somebody's employment.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and it should be painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah. And it should never be taken lightly.
Yeah. But it's again, you aspire to lead. You're going to inevitably run into it. There's no scenario where you're not going to have to make some choices. Just make them really thoughtfully and cautiously. And then, the flip side of that, you're finding ways for people to thrive. That's a great,
It is a great
our
thing.
colleague Lana and her word thrive. That word has been formative for me. Look for ways for people to thrive. And if you're doing that with your team's going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a fantastic way to end this, right? Like there's so much more we could say, but let's end on the best case scenario because that's what we aspire to is thriving teams.
Yep.
So
yeah.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate your insight. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you, Miriam.
Before we wrap up the show, if you're looking to dive deeper, we've got tons of free downloads, L&D resources, and details about upcoming webinars that you won't want to miss. They're found in the episode description. Plus, if you ever want to chat with either one of us, now's your chance. You can find links in the episode description to connect directly with Miriam or me. We're here to answer your questions and to discuss all things learning and development. And speaking of questions, we love hearing from you. Whether it's a question or a comment or a topic you're curious about, or if you just want to join the conversation, drop us a comment on your favorite social media channel. Your input shapes our shows. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. It's the best way to ensure you never miss out on our latest episode. We're excited to continue to transform learning into a measurable success with you. Until next time.